So let's talk Night of Champions and our predictions. That pay-per-view coming up very soon now, and some matches announced, enough to go on, and indeed I'm sure there'll be a part 2 with more to come very soon. But let's start with the Team Le Cool, Layla or Michelle McCool versus Melina. It's a title unification match, so they're now deciding to unite the Divas and Women's Championships after just a few months of the Divas title. What a strange decision, but I think a welcome one.
Yeah, I think especially with the 2 half titles, like there's 3 titles now really and 3 champions, but at Night of Champions there will only be 1, and I think for the most part I can see Melina doing the job on this one, and the continued push of Le Cool. Either or, I think the gimmick will still be solid, so a good outcome all around for the office and for, of course, us, the universe.
Lots of divas to be lumberjacks in that one, and of course Le Cool have done exceptionally well to keep themselves on TV. How many other divas angles have lasted this long? How many of them have actually meant anything? I personally feel, even though there are calls of Le Cool being a slight Beautiful People rip-off, that they have in fact done something original with it, and I think even their placement on NXT Season 2 has been welcomed and I think well received as well. They certainly had a hard role to fill in terms of being the first divas on NXT. So in this match, of course, with the returning Melina, who's come back after some injury, is it going to be unification for Melina? Will she end up with the belt? What's happening? Is it the WWE Women's belt? Is the Divas belt going to be the overall one? Or is it a new one altogether?
Yeah, interesting how they might have a new name for it, and it could just be called the WWE Divas Heavyweight. Well, it wouldn't be heavyweight because they're kind of light, so maybe we can knock that one out of the equation. But something like the WWE Divas Champion. But we've had that belt, so you will have to be able to distinguish for it to make sense, unless it just doesn't make sense. Kind of like what the world title and the WWE title would be if they were unified, which I heard there's some rumours too.
Indeed, it looks like unifications across the board for all the titles, and indeed we'll speak more on that subject later. Of course, this was sort of the beginning of the turning of the tide, the announcement of this match with Le Cool, who of course have really tarnished the reputation of that women's belt, in my opinion at least, with that split title and indeed the crack down the middle. Maybe that's the belt they're deciding to throw in the trash can, if you like. Maybe that's the one that's going to be now phased out. Perhaps since it's been a tendency to employ better looking women rather than better working in the ring performers, maybe the Divas belt is the one that they place the most importance in.
Yeah, maybe, and especially as it's their kind of gimmick title for that division, with TNA having their Knockouts title, so it definitely makes sense to keep the Divas name in the title of the title.
So Melina's story, we've all heard. She's really just been injured and has come back, but certainly she has been missed in the company. I think the women's division has suffered a little bit. Of course, NXT Season 3 hopefully going to do something to remedy that situation, but I really think maybe Melina is going to be the overall victor. Now, I did say that perhaps she had a chance as well recently and it didn't come to pass, but let's see what happens, and I think maybe Melina is going to go over.
Yeah, I'm thinking the other side. I'm thinking possibly Le Cool or possibly Michelle. And I had a valid reason for that there a minute ago, but it's completely gone out of my mind. So yeah, I'd say one of the two would probably be the winner in this one.
WWE Night of Champions predictions, and indeed The Undertaker will be taking on Kane for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, we've all seen this one before, but I have to say the build on Raw this past Monday for this match really got me interested in it a lot more. I kind of like the idea of seeing these two guys taking each other on now. We know what's happened in the past, but these two are different guys, especially The Undertaker. He really has suffered a lot in terms of injuries, and how can he perform in the ring with Kane now? He's been known to make guys look interesting. That match with Batista at WrestleMania was a powerhouse struggle. I'd like to see something like that in this one.
Yeah, and I think for the casual wrestling viewer or the kind of button pushers of the world, that it brings it back old school. It's a wrestling match headlining a pay-per-view, and taking everything into account from the over-the-topness and the gimmicks, and the gimmicks that are, i.e. The Undertaker, and pretty much a household name for a lot of the guys left in the business these days. I think a lot of people would know who The Undertaker is. So to have that old school buzz with the two boys going one on one kind of gives it that the big over the top gimmick, old school feel for people who might not buy pay-per-views. And I think more of that kind of stuff is never would always be welcomed.
That's exactly it, isn't it? You're talking about that casual viewer who just comes in and out and maybe doesn't watch all the TV, and maybe they weren't around all those years ago when The Undertaker was taking on Kane. Maybe there's a lot of people out there who've never seen this one before, and certainly without a doubt I think it is main event territory. And again, I think Kane has also done so much to build his profile up. I hope that if it is a case that Kane does lose this bout to The Undertaker, as I might expect to happen, that at least maybe Kane come out of it with some kind of a boost and maybe treat it a bit better now. Keep him on in the main event and keep him in the picture, because you've built him for all this time. Maybe keep him there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think for so many years of being, I wouldn't say underused, but because he was always there, and he just had become part of the furniture really, and uncomfortable furniture at that. But these things can get a polish, and Kane definitely did get the polish, and I think we're all the better for it, and it's actually something we don't fast forward when it comes to Friday nights these days.
That's right. I have enjoyed this one, and build has been consistent. I mean, Undertaker didn't just come back at the pay-per-view and then say, right, I'm not going to be on TV, I'm going to just wait it out until the next big event. And you can wait once again and anticipate. He's been there, and of course on that 900 episode of Raw, I really didn't think that show befitted a 900 episode celebration, personally.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it was even a good Raw, to be honest with you. I thought it was actually pretty dismal.
Raw is something that week by week I look at, and I always try and pay attention to no matter what. But certainly when you see something like a 900 episode as the billing, you expect a lot more. But at least, of course, Bret Hart, Undertaker, for the nostalgia fans, a little bit to be sentimental about.
Yeah, it was quite a unique moment and a good little photo opportunity, I'm sure. But yeah, very used to Bret for taking the jacket off, and yeah, that's the kind of last classic, really, isn't it?
That's right. It's something we've missed for a while. And on that note, Bret, who took on Undertaker, I'm going to say Undertaker is going to be the man to defeat Kane.
We could be going down that street, I'm sure.
Now, the six-pack challenge is going to be I think the main event at Night of Champions, the pay-per-view coming up, of course that match to feature Sheamus, the reigning WWE champion, taking on Cena, Wade Barrett, Orton, Edge and Chris Jericho. This six-pack challenge, it works as follows. Of course, 2 men in the ring at any one time and 4 guys outside. Now those guys can be tagged in or indeed just walking if the second competitor leaves the ring. So what's going to happen? Whoever gets pinned is going to be the champion.
Yeah, I can see Sheamus, even though he is the champ, putting out a very good performance with this one. And either way, could have lasted until probably the last 3 men, possibly 2. But sometimes we get those big swerves where Sheamus can be the first guy out, and kind of just makes the rest of the match, no matter who is involved, be it Orton or Cena or Barrett or whatnot, it kind of puts a nice spin on it. So I'm kind of hoping that, although I don't really want Sheamus to lose the title unless it's to Cena, so if Sheamus does fold first, I think that'll put a nice spark into the match.
Looking at the 6 guys' names on paper, you have to think which is a guy that would really get the belt at the moment. I think legitimately Sheamus of course has it, Cena can always take it, and I believe Orton as well. Maybe the swerve though could be Wade Barrett. Maybe Wade Barrett is going to take that belt from Sheamus, or maybe we're going to see that feud set up. I certainly thought last week when they had some time on screen together, Barrett and Sheamus, that there were real possibilities there for a match that could, I think, quite possibly draw very well in main event position, maybe Survivor Series, semi-main event. I'm not sure, but I think there is some mileage with those 2 guys. Like you say, Cena would be good. I'd like Cena to take the belt just to see that again and maybe have that non-stop reign that annoys us all.
Yeah, well, I think that would be very, very, very funny if Cena did take it, and we're still hoping that we're waiting out for that 2-year title run, so our fingers will be crossed, I think, for C Nation to rule the roost once again. But as you said about Sheamus and Barrett, I think that would be a really good angle to set up, no matter what the outcome, if Sheamus retains or if Barrett goes over and Sheamus seeks revenge, or either way, if Cena or Orton take it and somehow, some way, Sheamus eliminates Wade or Wade eliminates Sheamus, some bit of way to cause a bit of heat. But I think the best thing about those 2 guys is the delivery from both sides on the mic, and something about it seems all the kind of more international wrestlers, I think these days, from Drew to what's his face, Desmond Wolfe, and even Brutus, right back to Sheamus and Wade, they're all kicking ass on the mic, and they're all getting good pushes too. So I think we'll give a thumbs up to the international clientele.
Absolutely, they've done very well so far. Justin Gabriel, another guy from South Africa, people from Scotland, like you say, Drew in there, and people from Ireland. So it's taken a while, but they've finally started noticing that there is talent outside of the US and Canada and indeed Mexico, and I think many more guys are going to be coming in the future from UK developmental, and indeed maybe someone from Australia. It's been a while since Outback Jack.
It's been a while since Outback Jack. That's exactly it. And we've had some other Australians or New Zealanders in the form of the Bushwhackers, names that will live forever in the hearts of wrestling fans worldwide. But it's going to be a good match, and the 6-pack challenge, I'm thinking, and I'm hoping that Cena comes out on top with this one.
Yeah, I mean, looking at those guys, Orton, Edge and Jericho, of course Orton and Edge were kind of occupying that mid-card slot for a while, as was Jericho. But of course Jericho, with that stipulation this week that in fact if he loses this match, he's going to leave WWE. Now those consequences Are they really going to be carried out? Jericho, well, it feels like he's only been back a short time, really, but in reality, it's probably been a few years now. And indeed, maybe he is deciding to take one of his sabbaticals again. So perhaps I could rule him out of the equation. Probably the only guy that I would perhaps pick, except of course for Cena and maybe the Barrett Swerve. So I'm just going to go with Cena as well on this. I think maybe he will be the man coming out on top.